Hello everyone, my name is Ramba Mamba, and this is the third episode in the series where we will make an FPS game for complete beginners. In the last episode, we modeled a gun in Blender, and in this episode, we're going to make some reload animations, some shooting animations, and might even get into shooting. So the first thing I'm going to have open is I have Unity Hub open, as well as Blender open. I'm going to start by reopening our pistol gun project that we made in the previous episode, because we need to make some changes to it. The first thing that we're going to do is that I'm going to make a clip, so when we reload, something actually falls out of it. So first I'm going to move to edit mode. So I'm going to click on our cube, click on object mode and change it to edit mode. Next I'll move to face select mode and select the bottom face. This is where our clip is going to be, right in the middle of this. So I'm going to actually extrude it one very small amount, and then scale by pressing S and move it smaller. That looks about good. And left click to confirm. And then I'll select the face that we just extruded with E and scaled with S. And I'll press E again, but instead of extruding inwards, we're going to extrude outwards. So we actually make a hole. So if you press on the mouse button, then you can control what direction you want to extrude. So I'm actually going to go and I'm going to right click first to set it back to the origin and press 1 so I'm in the center. So now I'll extrude it again. Actually, I'll right click again, press Z and go to wireframe mode and then extrude it. So now I can see where I'm extruding. If you press the mouse button once, the middle mouse button, now you can see where you're extruding. So I'm going to move it right there because that's where the clip is. And release. There you go. So now if we press Z and move to solid mode, we have a hole in our gun. So I'm going to fill this with the clip. So I'm going to press 1 again. On the right hand side, on the left hand side, I'm going to change from edit mode to object mode. And on the right hand side, I'll right click. Actually, I'll add mesh and cube. So now we have another cube. I'll press S to scale it and reduce the size. G to grab it, and I'll move it right around here. And then I'll move it from object mode to edit mode. And then I'll click away, press Z, and move to wireframe mode. So now we can see it where it is, and I'm gonna try aligning it right up to where our where we made our clip hole. So I'm going to we're in edit mode, so I'm gonna move to edge select mode and select this vertice, and I'll grab it and I'll move it. I think that's where the clip is. Yeah. I'll box select with B and then grab it with G. I'll move it a little bit inside of the clip hole that we made. Box select, grab, box select, and then G to move. There you go. So now we have a cube right in the middle. But you can see it's way too big, and we want it to be slightly smaller than the clip size. So making sure I'm on the transform component, I'm going to reduce the scale on the y-axis so that it fits right in the little clip. There you go. That looks like it fits. So I'm going to press Z, go back into solid mode, change to face mode. And now it appears that we actually have something inside that hole. And when we want to do a reload animation, we can simply take out that clip and put it back in, like a real gun works. So now I'm going to go back into object mode. I will rename this cube by right-clicking on it. I don't know if you can rename it. Oh yeah, double-click on it. And I'll rename it probably like clip. And then on the cube, I'll double-click on it and rename it pistol. Also delete the image that we used. So I'll right click on the image and delete. There you go. So I'll press Control S, and now it should be updated in Unity. So if I'm going to go back into our Unity hub and open up our FPS game that we've been working on, our pistol should be in there with the clip now. So now Unity has booted up, and so I actually just deleted the gun that we have in our game under our player, under our camera, because we can't use it because it's not updated. So I'm actually gonna have to also delete the gun that we imported in Blender. So in our Blender folder, I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna import new asset once again, and I'll import the pistol gun that we just now made. So now this should be the updated pistol. And if I drag this into our scene now and expand it, we can notice that we have a clip component and we also have a pistol component. So if we look in this, when we're doing a reload, we can actually make it so that the clip comes off. We tilt the gun or reload it, and then we put the clip back in. So that we could do that. So I'm actually going to align this gun back up to where it was. So I'm going to set the rotation to -90, and I'll scale it down to 0.2 on all the axes. And then I'll double click on our graphics to expand it. And where's the gun? I don't even see it. Oh, the gun is inside of our player, so I'll move it forward. Let's see, it's too low. There you go. That looks good for me. That doesn't look realistic, but once you get arms, it'll work out nicely. And so that looks good for me. In my camera, by clicking on my camera, I can see the preview of where the gun will be. And so my gun is right there. That's perfect. So I'll do what we did in the last episode, where we dragged our pistol under our camera so that it would stay, whenever you move the camera, it would stay in relation to the camera. So now if we hit play, we should be able to look around the same as before. Pretty much no change. And perfect. Now we can get started animating. And so what we're going to do is that we're going to animate a reload animation and a shooting animation. So first, I'm going to save the project using file save. Then I'm going to go to my project folder and go to assets. I'll create a new folder by right clicking, and I'll call this animations. So I'll double click on it and I will create, so this is where we'll put our animations. Next, at the top, you see we have this animator. We want to actually add a new tab for animations. So at the top left, top right is this, using the three dots. I'm gonna add tab, and I'll add an animation. So I'll drag this animation thing all the way down into here. I'll drag it down here actually, and expand it. This is where we can make our animations. So I'll open up our player. I'll open up the pistol. With the pistol selected, I'll create a new animation clip, and it will be inside our game, our assets, our animations, and this one will be called shooting save. So over here we can add properties and kind of make a shooting effect. So when you shoot a bullet, there's recoil, and that pretty much means that the gun fires backwards a little. So we're gonna replicate this to make it seem more realistic. So what I'm actually gonna do is that I'm gonna start recording by clicking on the record button, and so then we can move the gun at keyframes and kind of make our animation. So I'm gonna start at 0.5, and the first thing I'm gonna do is by moving to the rotate tool by pressing E, I'm gonna rotate the gun a tiny bit backwards, and then at 20 seconds, I'll rotate it even more, and then I'll probably move the gun up a little, then at 45 a little forward. So if we hit play, that's what our animation looks like. And so you can see this is pretty slow. That's gonna happen really fast when you're shooting a gun, I'm pretty sure. So I'm actually gonna stop play, and I'm gonna drag all of these components a little bit closer to each other. So that way it will be a faster animation. So now if we hit play, that looks about good. Actually, I'm gonna do it even faster. There you go. That looks about perfect to me. So now that we have our animation of our shooting animation, pew pew pew. Let's hit play to see how it looks. So right now it's just gonna loop over and over, but so that's how it's gonna look right after you shoot. Right now it's just looping over and over, but we can program this to happen from script. So actually the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to make this animation not happen randomly and at the very beginning. So if you open up your console, if you open up your project and you open up our animations tab, we have our shooting animation and it says loop time. So this means it happens looped, but we don't want it to happen looped. We want it to happen at a specific time once. So I'm going to turn that off. And then we have this box. So this triangle represents our animation, and this box represents the controller for our animations. So I'm going to double click on it. And so this tells you the relationship you have between your animations. So right now it says entry, and it goes to shooting. We don't want it to happen on entry. So I'm going to create a right click, and I'm going to create a state and empty. Then I'm going to right click and make transition, and I'm going to make a transition to this new state, and I'll set state machine to default. So now when it enters, it'll start this new state, which is empty, and we have our shooting animation off to the left. In more complicated tutorials you can do blending of animations and such, but right now we don't want to do anything on entry, and we want to call the shooting from script. So now shooting doesn't happen randomly when you start the game. Nope, it doesn't happen. And we can program it to do it from script. But first, let's create a new animation, and we'll create a new animation for our reload. This will be a little bit more tricky, but I'm going to click on our pistol gun, and at the top it says shooting, but I'm going to create a new clip, and I will call this reloading. So once again, I'm going to start with the start recording. So when I want to reload, I want to lift the gun up a little, remove the clip, put the clip back in, and move it back to its original position. So I'm going to move to our scene view so we can see what this looks like. Kind of look through where the camera is so we see the camera view. And in around 5 seconds, or I don't know what unit this is, I'll rotate the gun to the left, to the right, I mean. Move the gun up. Rotate the gun even more. Move the gun towards us. And now we can start dropping the clip. So I'm going to select our clip. I'm going to drop it a little. And at 50 seconds I'll pull it out even more. So when we scroll the slide bar back, we can see that we're pulling out the clip. So you can also use the scroll wheel to add some more space. So then at round 1, I'm going to pull it out so much till you can't really see it in the camera. And I'll actually move this to 1 minute and 10. So now you can't really see the clip in the camera, and now we can start bringing it back. So at 1 minute and 35, I'll start bringing the clip back into our gun. Then at 2, I'll put it in all the way. And now we just need to rotate the gun back to where the original position was. So I'm going to select our gun, and I'll put the rotation to 0, 0. Oh, no. It still needs to be negative 90. My bad. 0 and 0. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And at the very beginning, the position was at... I'm going to copy the values. It was at 1.3.2. So I'll copy that. And then right around 215, I'll copy that value into it. And then just so everything's back to how it was. There you go. So now, if we stop recording, we hit play. Perfect. And now if we hit play, because we haven't told it when to start doing this animation, it shouldn't do anything. But if we go into our project and we open up our controller for our animations, we have our shooting and our reloading animation. And for now, I'm going to actually first, I'm going to change the reloading animation to not loop time. And then I'm actually going to make a default by right clicking, set state machine to default to reload. So then we can watch the reload in our game. Let's see how it looks. That looks about good. But you can see that the clip isn't exactly where it should be. And there's an easy fix for this. The computer can automatically fix the positioning if you add exit time. So what that means is that we added a substate right after reloading that kind of resets everything. It's a good practice. So I'm going to create a new empty state. I'll create 2 empty states. And then I'm going to make a transition. Make a transition. And on these transitions, I'm going to make sure it says has exit time. So this just means that it'll fix everything back to how it was. And then from entry, I'll change it back to an empty idle state. And so now we just need to call reloading and shooting from our script. So I'm going to press Control S to save